And I'm trying to explain what's going on with this form so that you'll get the sense of how the structural integrity of it is arising.
Está bien.
Yeah, because the structural component is the simplest definition of structure I can come up with is relationship. And relationships make form. And so in trying to understand what the structure of something is, I'm looking at the form to tell me how it's related. And the nature of that relationship becomes the structure. Now, what I think is important here is that this figures out a way to make this permanently confined to a locality. Because what this is a three-dimensional knot. And what is happening, if you look at just a simple this is the available C.
We're missing toys.
I think NPA people are stealing them for mementos.
I swear there's one there.
You should be careful. It was in my car all night, so you don't know.
Don't bother to look at the collapsed loops in here, but just at the outside structure. This structure is a knot because what is happening is if you look at the vertex here, or vortex I like to call it in these, since the lines don't intersect, they interact, you can see that this thing has got a spin to it. And this one happens to be spinning left-handed. And in other words, in a clockwise direction. And what is happening is that by bending this stick, I'm putting torsion into the structure. I'm loading it with energy, and it wants to unfold back to a perfect circle. But it's being blocked by the two other circles that are also trying to get back. So what happens is it finds a point of balance between the centrifugal force of expansion and the centripetal force of contraction, and ends up always kind of in a relationship that is structural. And then when I add these loopings in here, this thing becomes extremely strong. And to me, the looping, since it's the opposite handedness, if I'm interacting these loops, I'm going to end up with one-handedness in this tube structure.
Outside,
and the opposite handedness is going on inside. And this is what we find in the atomic model. We find a negative charge on the outside and a positive charge on the inside. And those charges are the way these things are looped. So what happens is that, when we start condensing this thing and we do it three-dimensionally, we're taking the positive, what we're calling the positive twist, the right-handed twist, and condensing it to the nucleus, and we're making we're putting all the positive charge in the nucleus, and we're leaving the outside field, which is negative, and all of the energy is in this nuclear event. All the twisting is there, and only a nominal amount out here.
How many loops do you have there? 1, 2.
I think it was 12. It was about 12 on each side.
3.
Oh, you mean these loops here?
Yeah, big loops.
There's 3.
Looks like 6.
Well,
here,
just
like here they are here.
3 by 2.
show them that smaller one. That's how I did it. That one, no, that piece
It's like
right
number
there, right there.
This.
There. Yeah, there are 3 of those, right?
Well, that's one loop.
Right. But I mean, there's
And I'm using
3 of those.
to
Yeah.
make
So if
this.
you see that white one with the pink on it, there are 3 of those sitting up there.
It's almost like a number 8.
Okay.
but it's a single.
Yeah, oh, here they are in 3 different colors.
Yeah, there you go.
I can see them. This actually is an actor. It's not a structure, it's not a structure because if I snip those little black things, this one's going to explode. And the difference between this creating a tetrahedron and this one is that if you look at the vortexes, you'll see that these aren't inside of each other. And so to hold the position, they need that ring. But if they were repositioned in this way, where they actually crossed over, and this is where the knotting comes in, then you don't need the rings anymore, because nature doesn't have these little rings. We're building this whole universe with just loops and wrappings and how they wrap together. So back to the issue of structure.
Well, okay, that question was going to be, does that mean an electron has 3 parts? 3 loops in an electron?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it carries right through. In the nucleus, you're going to have those 3 parts too, and those are what's been defined as the quarks. Those are the 3 quarks that
But nobody thinks
every
that
particle
an
has.
electron has 3 parts. They all think it's one little tiny dot.
Yeah, I know.
But it could be the wave nature of the electron around the atom. I would associate not with quark but with wave in the outside, which is what Deborah Broglie suggested. You know, he even fit the waves. He justified Bohr's quantum condition by just putting an equal number of integral number of waves. Then once the idea was written mathematically, they threw it away physically. Now the electron is a dot. Not a, you know.
Oh yeah.
So he was discussing.
But there's a lot of people also, the toroid people, which is actually in our Sagnac Award. There are 3 interlocking rings, which is, there's a lot of similarities there. When you look at this 3 coming up all the time, it's very, it's amazing to me how you came from a totally different area and they came from another.
The whole issue of why we are 3-dimensional is a big subject.
And then Compton too. Compton was supposedly, from the Compton effect, he supposedly had evidence that, starting to gather evidence that the electron in fact was toroidal. Because he was finding this, and it was amazing work, but of course, it just never got on. I have a question, and this is a little, because when I see your stuff, and I can see how it relates to subatomic, and that it's very amazing to me. But what happens, because structure actually is not only at that level.
Beautiful. That's right.
I don't see, this is just a simple thing. I don't see galaxies doing that.
Right. This is the elemental stuff. But what we've got to do is establish a way to build complexity. And nature has these platforms. And the first platform goes from Planck's constants up to the electron. And then the electron to neutron is the next platform of complexity. And all of this is building, looping and twisting to build these forms up.
Why do you think the beginning of, the origin of it starts there? Because like myself, I'm one of those people, if it has structure, there's something, if it has a size, there's got to be something else below it. Because how could you measure, and it's going to keep going all the way down, all the way up. The way I look at it is that, that's my view. You start somewhere, obviously. We're starting somewhere. We have to. And there's no argument. And you can go so far. So you can go down for this far, and you can go up higher, and you try to go as far as you can. What is it that makes this? Is it just because as you played with the basic stuff? Because I sort of understand the origin. I've seen enough of your talk. How you just started with what's stable, what isn't, and start building. And it just really fit into the atomic structure. That's curious to me, because if it still keeps going down, and obviously we're talking about this, how come this starts and it matches up with what we see at that level? Is it just can't ever answer it?
Well, it has to start at the Planck scale, and there has to be a discrete entity, a loop at that scale, at that size, that is the origin